Welcome to the JTV Caribbean News. I am Sean Rose. A day after blocking parliamentarians in Bermuda from entering the country's House of Assembly to debate controversial immigration amendments on March 14th, protesters have continued their demonstrations, insisting that government pull back the Bermuda Immigration and Protection Amendment Act 2016 legislation. The ruling One Bermuda Alliance (OBA) has proposed an initiative that would allow people working in the British Overseas Territory for at least 15 years to gain permanent residency and then citizenship after being there for 20 years. However, hundreds of protesters who oppose the legislation and are demanding comprehensive immigration reform linked hands in a ring around the Parliament building after 9 a.m., creating a human barricade.
We're here because the government is introducing a bill without consulting the people who put the government to serve. So our issue is not with those individuals. Our issue is with a government that refuses to engage in a process of consultation where they can receive the mandate of the people that they serve. Now, recent history teaches us that all over the world, in fact, even in Great Britain right now, the British government are looking at, what are they looking at? Immigration. You know why? Because in Britain they're saying, look, we can't have non-British people coming here displacing unemployed British people, using services when there are British people in need. Now there is some irony in the British saying it, given their imperial background. But by the same token, sovereign governments or governments of the people have a first responsibility of protecting and serving the interests of their people.
In response, Bermuda Premier Michael Dunkley said the administration had put reasonable proposals on the table to end the impasse, but they were not accepted. He urged all parties to exercise patience, tolerance, and respect for one another in the current situation.
This government hears the concerns of the people regarding immigration reform. We know there are those who are uncomfortable with these proposals. There are also many who welcome them. As it relates to this immigration policy, we believe the proposals are good for Bermuda. We hear all viewpoints, and it is our duty and responsibility to govern for the benefit of all Bermuda. That is our mandate, and that is how we will continue moving this country forward, making the tough decisions for a strong and prosperous future that serves the interests of all Bermudians. So, fellow Bermudians, let us debate, let us express our views, and let us do so passionately, but let us do it with tolerance, respect, and responsibility. This government is always keen to speak to as many people as possible. But we realize after the meeting held a couple of weeks ago in the Cathedral Hall that there are certain people who didn't want to hear the message. And if that's going to be the case, it is futile to try to address people until they're willing to listen. When I spoke to this subject in the House of Assembly earlier this week, I used a quote from President Kennedy. And he says, you cannot negotiate or discuss things with people when they say what is theirs, and what you believe is right is not negotiable.
A judge will decide by the end of this month whether to proceed with a proposed class action lawsuit filed by a Jamaican fashion model against Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump's modeling agency, the judge's office said. Alexia Palmer accuses Trump Model Management LLC of lying to the federal government in its work visa application that said she would be paid a $75,000 a year salary while living in the United States, according to court documents. Instead, according to court papers, Palmer received a total of $3,880.75 during the 3 years she was under contract with the agency. The complaint alleges fraudulent misrepresentation and violations of U.S. immigration and labor laws. It asked for $225,000 in back pay. The suit was originally filed in October 2014. A decision on a pending motion by Trump Model Management to dismiss is expected by the end of March. The clerk for Judge Annalisa Torres, who is presiding over the case in the U.S. District Court, Southern District, told Reuters. And finally, in this week's Caribbean News segment, Gordon Butch Stewart is suing one of Jamaica's biggest media companies for $17.5 billion Jamaican dollars, or $143.8 million US dollars, over the publication of an article that he says was false, malicious, and defamatory. Stewart, the founder of the all-inclusive Sandals Resorts and chairman of the Appliance Traders Limited ATL Group, issued a statement this week saying the report published on the Gleaner Company's website Friday, March 11th had caused significant damage, not only to his reputation, but to the companies he represents. The Gleaner report surrounded the non-payment of 40 million Jamaican dollars, or $328,677 US dollars in cost in a legal matter involving opposition senator and businessman Noel Slowly. Stewart said he is seeking damages in the region of 17.5 billion Jamaican, or 143.8 million US, but stressed that was only a conservative estimate. The Gleaner has not yet issued a public response to the legal action, but the article in question was removed from its website. That's it for the JTV Caribbean News. I am Sean Rose.
And coming up next on JTV News. Sewage stench affecting Ivan Dawson Primary School. King Pedro is ready to defend Virgin Gorda Calypso crown with no Sister Joyce this year. Another fantastic display of acrobatic choreography at Lime Elmore Style cheerleading competition. And 15 singers selected for Gen Y Factor Talent Showcase.